In today's video, we're going to be checking out Pomkot's Mech mod, and this is currently in alpha. It has massive mechs, insane enemies that you can fight against, and even some utility mechs that can help you farm. Let's jump into it. First up, we're going to be checking out the hero mechs. Now, these are the blue ones, and there's 6 of them in total if you add the expansion pack into the mod. Without it, I believe it's just these 3. So these are 3 from the expansion pack, and these are 3 from the base pack. So we're going to go and try them out. The first one is the PMV-01. As you can see, this is a small sort of lightweight bot. This design actually reminds me of that robot from Sonic Heroes in the Sonic universe. I can't remember what the name of it is, but that's what it reminds me of. So when you get in, you can see you have your little display, your crosshair, and you do look pretty cool. It moves pretty nippy actually. It has a bit of a dash if you hold control, all of the bots do, and it has a bit of a small flight. Because it's so small and lightweight, the flight is actually quite decent, and if you combo that with the dash, you can cover a lot of land really quickly. So let's head back over here and test out some of the weapons. So your left click is just your machine gun. It does a pretty decent amount of damage. It doesn't do, insane amounts, but it's enough to take down some mobs if you're fighting and if you're, challenging some of the mobs from the pack. This is a nice nifty bot, and you can do a lot of damage really quickly and move about quite quickly. Then its right click is just sort of a punch. You can see it sort of gear up here, and it sends you forward slightly. It's got a cool little effect, and this is what it looks like in first person. And then if you hit O, it sends a nice little cannon. It doesn't do any damage to the terrain, which is nice, because it means when you're fighting, you're not going to damage the terrain and ruin your entire landscape. And also, if you hit Y, it gives you this hammer that you can do like a massive stomp, and it does AoE damage. It destroys AoE land, so if you want to do some building, you want to clear out an area quite quickly, you can use the hammer. You can right click with it and it digs. And that is the first small bot. It's pretty good for terraforming, it's pretty good for fighting. If you hit Y again, it takes you back into this mode. So we're going to leave this bot here and check out PMV-01B. Now this is very similar to the PMV-01. As you can see, left click has its little machine gun, Gatling gun. Right click has the same punch. Hit Y, it has the same hammer, does the same thing, just damages whatever the area is in front of you. Right click, digs up, and then if you hit O, it launches the rocket. Exactly the same, just a different design, a nice different colorway for you to look at. Then we have the PMV-02, and if you're wondering how this camera mod is happening, it's a separate mod that you have to install for the mechs, and it gives you sort of like a anime style POV when you're piloting the mechs. It's pretty cool. But this is the PMV-02. You can see it's got a different thing on the back. So the left click is actually a slower sort of Gatling gun that does damage to the terrain. Its right click, again, is that same punch. However, it's a drill, so you can absolutely tear through the landscape without any issues. If you're going mining, if you're doing some terraforming, I would recommend you using this. And if you want to clear like a pathway through a tunnel or something, you don't get the resources, so this can purely be used, if you combo this with create or something, if you want to make a train track. I've just absolutely teared through the mountain, so I would recommend doing that. And then if you hit O, it has this thing, which is like a mower. So you can use that to pick up crops and stuff on a farm. This is more of a utility bot rather than a combat bot. Now you could do some fighting with it, I'm sure, but you wouldn't want to. And then Y doesn't do anything. So if you hit O, that just purely cuts up crops and stuff. So if you want to use it for utility, this is the bot for you. But now let's check out some more combat orientated hero bots. This is the PMG-E01. Now let's place this one here because this one's pretty big. You can see it towers above the rest. Let's just grab this one here. And then we'll just put this one right next to it, just a quick size comparison, and you'll see, yeah, it's massive. So you'll see it has a laser sword, it has a massive gun, it has a rocket launcher sniper thing on the back, and it has like a Power Rangers S design. So you can see like the red visor. This one's sick. I think this is probably the coolest one in the pack. So let's jump in. As we walk around, you can hear the difference. It's absolutely annihilating anything in its path, and quite rightfully so, because this thing is huge. Its left click has a Gatling gun. It's alright. It does about the same amount of damage as these other Gatling guns, probably a little bit more, purely based on the size of it. Its right click is a laser sword. It only does 1 slash, so if you want to repeatedly use it, you have to just keep pressing right click. If you hit O, it doesn't really do anything. Hit U, that locks, and that does the same for every single bot. And then if you hit P, it sends like a rocket out in the direction that you're facing. It doesn't damage terrain, no, so you don't really have to worry too much about everything around you being destroyed. And the nifty thing about these bots, obviously they're so high up, so if you were to get out, you're going to take a lot of fall damage because that is quite high. So what you can do is you can hit Y and it goes into sort of a sentry crouch mode, and then you can get out. You'll take about half a heart, maybe a heart's worth of damage, but you'll survive. There's less chance of you dying, so I would recommend always hitting Y before you get out of these mechs. Now we have the PMG E02, and this is more of the Guardian Knight style thing, and this gives me Lancelot vibes from Code Geass. This is sick. I'm actually a big fan of this mech in particular. It's probably my favorite of the mechs that you can control. I like this one. I think the utility on this one is really cool. However, the design on this one is the best one. It has the red visor, has the text over it, also has the laser sword and the weapon, and the rocket launcher on the back. So this one controls, you know, pretty much the same as the other. So if you right click, however, you have 3 strikes with your right click this time, so you can do a bit more damage. And you can launch 3 strikes instead of just the 1. The left click is more of a sort of a laser gun, laser weapon. Doesn't do any terrain damage, but it does do a lot of damage. You just saw it tear through that mech, and the same for this one here. It does a pretty decent amount of damage. And then if you hit P again, sends that rocket launch flying, doesn't do any terrain damage, and Y puts you into that safe sentry mode. And now, the final of the hero bots is the PMGE03. And you can see this one doesn't have a laser sword, but it does have a shield on the side of the arm, and it has these little rocket booster things on the back. Now remember, every bot has maneuverability, it has like a little boost and a little dodge, so you can see you can dodge quickly and have a little bit of flight. This one actually goes up quite high. You can see the custom animations on all of these are sick. So the left click, there's that little laser gun. The right click actually folds out from the shield, and it has like a little baton. I say little, it's huge, but you have that baton that you can launch attacks with. If you hit O, it launches rockets in the direction that you're looking at. It also locks onto targets, so if you have enemies in front of you, you can lock on. And if you hit P, it has like this laser gun, comes from the back. The animation's pretty sick. And you can see it does a pretty decent amount of damage. And then we'll just hit Y, puts you into that stance, and then you hop out, and you're safe. So that is all of the hero bots. Now these are really cool. I'm a big fan of the utility bot that you can get. I'm glad that there are more bots than just for combat, because I feel like you need some utility when you're playing these mods. So using something like that to tend to your farm and do mining is beneficial. So we're going to move on to the villain bots. Okay, so now the villain mechs. Now there are 5 of these in total, and this one, for some reason, the PMB01 doesn't work. It wouldn't let me spawn it. I'm not entirely sure why. So we're going to come back to that one and just test it at the end. But first, let's jump into the PMGZ01. Now this is the counterpart to the hero mech And you can see it's pretty gnarly. It has a massive rocket launcher on the back, a shield arm, this absolute weapon of like a laser axe thing, the menacing visor that you can see, and also the sort of, that looks like an M16, but really big. So, jumping in, do some damage. The right click hits with the baton, only one singular hit. The left click, just your typical Gatling gun that we've seen with all the other mechs. If you hit P, that launches that rocket. And you can do the maneuverability as well. So if you hit control or space, you can sort of do a bit of flight. You can send yourself flying, have a bit of maneuverability, get some shots off, launch some rockets. And then when you're done, you just hit Y and hop out. The villain mechs look really cool. We're going to dive into the PMG-Z02 next. This has a different colorway. It has the baton in the other arm and doesn't have a rocket pack on the back. However, what you'll see in a minute is something really cool. So, jumping in, and you can see when I was mentioning about the sort of anime mod, the camera mod, it gives you that sort of Gundam over-the-shoulder anime style camera angle. It's really cool. So if you hit left click, that's your machine gun, minigun sort of thing on the back. Right click gives you the triple hit, so similar to the one that looks like, I think I might have destroyed it. The one that looked like the Avalon? No, not the Avalon. The one from Code Geass. And if you hit O and P, they actually don't have any effects on this one. I thought they did. If you hit U, it locks onto the top. But it turns out that actually this one doesn't have any extra abilities. So it's less utility, but it can rip through damage, you see. Sending out a wave of damage into this. And it does a lot with its right click. So you don't have to worry if you are intending to cause some damage with these mechs. Now, this is the PMB-01. This is the one that wasn't working for me. So if you check this mod out yourself, let me know if it works. Let me know in the comments if it works for you. It's not working for me for some reason. But that being said, PMG-Z03. Now this one is the coolest of the villain mechs. Look how gnarly this looks, and it looks like it has insane amount of maneuverability. You can see the jump is higher, much higher than the other mechs in the villain category. You can go far with the boost and the jump combo. The left click has this little laser sword that's a pretty massive explosion on impact. No terrain damage though, which is good. The right click has the triple hit laser sword. If you hit P, it sends a double blast of lasers straight into the target that you're looking at and causes pretty insane damage. And overall, probably the best utility of the villain mechs. You can see just how much damage it's able to do. And if you hit Y, it gives you that little crouch down and you can hop out. This is the best villain mech, hands down. And then you also have the PMG-Z03Y, which is just a different colorway. I'm not the biggest fan of this colorway. I think it's the blue. I think the red is suited much more. However, it does the same thing. You hit P, it's that double laser strike, and it has the same maneuverability as the other one. And of course, if you hit Y, it puts you down into that crouch position so you can get out without taking too much damage. So these are all of the villain mechs, bar obviously the PMB-01. If you can get that one to work, let me know in the comments what it's like. And now let's move on to the last, but certainly not least, of the mechs. So these are the small and high speed mechs. There's 5 in total, and we are going to just breeze through them very quickly. So this is the PMAC-01. You can see it's quite small, quite nimble, and we're going to spawn all 5 of these in just so you can see them in contrast with all of the others. So let's pop you there, the PMC-02 and the PMG-X-01. So you can see they do scale up on size, but they are all the relatively same height, except for this one. This one is a bit beefier but it is heavier. So that obviously is why. So let's jump into the first one. You can see it definitely looks nimble, it's fast. It has no issues getting about the place, and its left click is a simple sort of single burst laser gun. Its right click is the Gatling gun. If you hit O, it launches rockets into a locked on target, and if you hit P, it sends rockets straight in front of you. Like so. And obviously if you hit Y, puts you into the crouch, but you're not too far from the ground in these ones, so you could probably get away with just getting out without crouching. Although when they're crouched, they look so much cooler. Next we have pretty similar. The left click has the single bolt energy thing, right click has the Gatling gun, and then if you hit P, it launches rockets right in front of you, and I does the same thing onto the locked target. This is good for long range. This is definitely more of a long range combatant rather than a close range, and it's nifty and nimble as well, so you can get about without too much issues. So let's crouch, and then let's move on to Mech number 3 in the category. Now these two, they're the same, just different colorways. They look sick though. They look so cool. I think these might be my favorite of the small mechs. So you have this, which is again another laser gun. This has a smaller laser sword that comes out of the arm, but still pretty cool. And then we also have, if you hit P, it sends the double lasers, although it does knock you back a little bit, so be careful. And if you hit O, it does nothing. Never mind, that's a shame. Hit Y, jump out, and now this is just a different colorway like I mentioned. Does the triple hit, launch that, double lasers. I think I prefer the purple colorway, I'm not gonna lie. I think the purple colorway is my favorite. And then when they're crouched, they look even cooler. And now last, but certainly not least, this is the PMG X01. It's the last of the mechs, and the coolest of this category, I would say. Just look how sick this looks. Oh my goodness. This looks insane. That just looks menacing. Okay, so if you left click, this is a melee bot. So you can see it throws 3 punches if you left click. If you right click, it charges up its right hand and then launches anything in its way. Massive knockback. If you hit P, it launches rockets right in front. If you hit O, it does sort of like an uppercut style hit. You can see it sort of over the shoulder uppercut. And then obviously, as normal, if you hit Y, it puts you into the crouch. Now, that's all of the mechs in this mod, and let me know your favorite in the comments below. But there is also one final thing that I want to show you, and that's the mobs. So we're going to jump straight in with the mobs. And these are spawn eggs for mobs that you can fight against. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the small hero bot, like so, which I think was this one. Which it was. It's not letting me spawn that one now. Okay, never mind. We're going to take one of these and fight them. But first, we're going to spawn all of these in. So these are just the different mobs that come with it. So you have the massive, absolutely insanely looking bot that you don't want to mess with. This is the boss, obviously. Then you have this little turret thing. You have a drone. You have this sort of rocket launcher robot. Another, looks like a anti-aircraft robot style thing. And then this weird spider crab. So what we're going to do is jump into, I think actually we're going to jump into this massive mech over here. And we need to be ready, because otherwise we might lose this fight. So now, game mode survival, and you can see they've already started launching a barrage of attacks against us. However, there's no match for what we have. They were annihilated almost immediately, and that is how insane this bot is. Oh my goodness. This bot is probably the best of the pack. I love the melee. And see, look how much damage it did when I got out from all the way up there. If I hit Y, a heart. So definitely hit Y when you get out of these mechs, otherwise you will end up taking a lot of full damage and potentially dying if you've already gone into the mechs and lost health. But that is everything from this insane mech mod that is still in alpha. Like, this mech mod is still in alpha, which is insane to think about, that there is more to come from this mod. Check it out. Links are in the description. Let me know what your favorite mech of the mod is and if you're going to try this out for yourself. And I hope to see you in the next video.